Welcome back to Good Grief Life After Loss. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode, and a special thank you for tuning in to last week's episode, where I finally got the chance to interview my dad, Ron Jackenthal, and it was really so special just to have that space to sit down together and talk about our shared loss, but from his perspective. I think something I said over and over in that podcast, and I've said multiple times since, is it's just so wild to have experienced the same loss as someone else and to have such a different perspective and such different moments that we each experienced during our time in Australia and creating Live Like Sam, etc. So it was really interesting to hear his perspective. I heard that many of you cried, as did I. So again, just thank you for listening. Thank you for the feedback. I really appreciate that, and I know my dad does too. But today's episode was actually inspired by a video that recently came across my Instagram feed. It was a segment from a comedy special called Sorry for Your Loss by a comedian, Michael Cruz Kayne, and he said something that I honestly haven't been able to stop thinking about since I saw it a few weeks ago. He opened up the show by sharing that he had lost his infant son over 10 years ago, and in reflecting on that, he said, "I don't talk about it a lot. Not because I don't want to, but because you don't want me to." And I feel like I have never been more understood in that moment than hearing him say that. Because the truth is, I do want to talk about Sam. I want to talk about him all the time, honestly. And not just about how he died or how hard it was or how strong I am or how brave I am or how much I miss him. I actually don't want to talk about any of that, truthfully. I want to talk about who he actually was, how he was wild and hilarious, and how he made everything more fun and more chaotic and just feel more alive. And there are so many stories and so many moments, so many little things that still live in my head that I wish I could just comfortably say out loud. But a lot of the times I don't. I stop myself, whether that's with strangers or new friends, and honestly, even sometimes with people who already know my story. Because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, is this going to make them uncomfortable? Is this going to change the mood or kill the mood? Am I going to make this weird? And the thing is, the answer is usually yes. And it's not because I said anything wrong, it's simply because grief just has that effect on people. The second I say, "My brother died," everything shifts. Their face changes, their tone changes, the energy in the room just drops immediately. And then something really strange happens, which is that they get overwhelmed. They don't know what to say, and sometimes, actually far too often, they get emotional and even start crying. And suddenly the roles change, and I am the one comforting them. Now I'm the one saying, no, it's okay. I'm okay. I promise. You don't have to be sad. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, wait, what? How did we get here? Where I just told you about this horrible, sad thing that happened to me, and now you're more upset than me, and I'm comforting you, and I have to tell you it's okay. When it's really not okay. But the truth is, I don't want or need other people's emotions. I have enough of my own to deal with. Let me say that again. I do not want or need other people's emotions. I have enough of my own to deal with. And I think we all feel that way, whether in grief or just simply in life. And the thing is, when it comes to talking about Sam, sometimes I'm not even sharing because I'm sad. Actually, most of the time, I'm sharing because something reminded me of him, because a memory popped into my head, or because I just want to laugh about my fun stories with Sam again. But the second people hear that he's gone, it just can't help but become so heavy, and then I feel like I have to carry that weight for both of us. And it's not just in big emotional conversations, it shows up in the smallest, most normal of questions, like, how many siblings do you have? Is this your first kid? What's your family like? And people ask these questions expecting simple, easy answers, cookie cutter responses. It's like when you ask someone how they're doing and you only expect them to say, "Good, thanks." "How was your weekend?" "It was fine." Like, you never expect someone to say, like, "Oh, actually my weekend was pretty horrible," or "I'm actually not doing well. I'm feeling really sad today." Like, No one expects that, and I actually don't think we ask the questions really caring what their answer is. We just ask these questions because it feels right. And I get it, because most of the time, the answer we get to those questions is that easy, simple, cookie cutter response. But when your life doesn't fit into those neat little boxes anymore, there is not a simple answer. And when you can almost feel it, the moment when you realize, oh man, this person was not prepared for the real answer, then you have to decide in real time, do I tell the truth? Do I simplify it? Do I avoid it? Do I make them uncomfortable? Or do I just simply be honest? And something I've been noticing recently, especially as I've been meeting new people, is this weird pressure around timing. Like, when do I bring it up? Do I tell a funny story about Sam without actually saying he's gone? Do I just let them assume he's still alive? And then what happens later, when it eventually comes up? Does it feel like I've been hiding something? Does it feel like I've dropped something heavy out of nowhere? It's like there is no perfect way to do it. If you say it too early, it suddenly defines you. But if you say it too late, it's shocking and almost feels deceiving. So sometimes you just don't say it at all. But the problem with that is I want to say it. I want to talk about him. I want to tell the stories. And I think that's something I'm realizing more and more over time. Like, I've recently met a new group of girls, and it's been really great to spend time together. And as we're getting to know each other and sharing stories, like, Sam is such a big part of me, and not even his death, but who we were together as siblings, in the way like Sam's wild, chaotic spirit shaped who I am. And so it feels like I need to share these stories, and I want to share these stories to help them understand me and who I am and why I am the way I am. And it just feels so hard, but like, I want so badly to tell the stories. I want to talk about the time Sam got in trouble for putting paintballs under the toilet seat at elementary school, or how he would tell the most inappropriate jokes you have ever heard at just 10 years old, and would get a kick out of watching the shock and horror on people's faces to hear the vulgar things he would say with a smile on his face. Like, that's what I miss being able to do freely. Just share him. Talk about the wild and hilarious person he was without watching someone's face fall or the tears fall, without feeling like I need to brace them for it, without getting those apologetic eyes and the "I'm so sorry for your loss" speech. Like, I want to be able to talk about him like anyone else talks about someone they love. I want to say Sam's name in a conversation and not feel like I just changed the entire atmosphere. Because when I'm talking about Sam, I'm not just talking about his death, I'm talking about his life. And I feel like that's so important and something so many of us grievers are missing. Like, I think a lot of people who are grieving feel this way, that we want to grieve out loud, not just in quiet, private, heavy, depressing moments, but in the light ones too, in the funny stories, in the random memories, in the like, oh my God, this reminds me of them moments. We want to keep them present, but the world doesn't always know how to hold that. And I think that's so tough, because if we aren't allowed to talk about the bright, happy, funny moments we had with the person we lost, then it feels like their death is their defining moment. Like, that defines their story. But what about all the years they lived before, and all the joy and light and happiness they spread? And I understand that that makes the world uncomfortable, and I don't even blame people. Like, grief makes all of us uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar and scary and heavy, and people don't know what to say. I don't even know what to say. So we either shut down or we overcompensate. But I think what we actually need, honestly, is so much more simple than that. We don't need perfect words. We don't need you to fix it. We don't need you to feel it as deeply as we do. We just need space. Space to talk, to remember, to laugh, space to say their name and not have it feel like everything just broke. And it was so interesting as I was looking at this video of Michael Cayne's comedy special and reading through the comments, there were so many people in the comments who just said like, wow, I feel this so deeply. I think of the child I lost every single day, and I wish I could talk about him. I wish someone would ask me about him. I wish I had the opportunity to tell the stories, to say their name out loud. Like, so much of our grief is done in private or in the comfort of our own homes with our other family members. And like, that's great to have that option, but I don't only want to be able to talk about Sam with my parents. I want to be able to talk about Sam with everyone, with my best friends, with my coworkers, with the stranger I just met at the bar, whoever it is. Like, I want to be able to share Sam with the world, not just keep him to myself. And I don't want it to be a sad sob story every time I talk about Sam. I actually rarely want that to be the narrative. I want to share these happy, funny stories. And I often find myself in rooms with people telling stories of their own families, of their siblings, and what it was like growing up. And all I want to do is tell them about my brother. Often, honestly, knowing that any story I tell would immediately rival theirs because nothing Sam did was tame or casual, and often the stories I want to share about him reflect just that, and it sucks to have to sit silently in a room of people talking about growing up with their siblings and these funny dynamics and all these stories, blah, 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 and I just want to tell my stories without making other people uncomfortable. And truthfully, when I want to share about Sam, when I do share about Sam, I'm usually not sharing because I'm falling apart and needing support and feeling sad. Most often I'm sharing because I'm holding on to something good. I'm holding on to a happy memory. The comedian, Michael Cruz, also said in his special that it took him 10 years to realize he wanted to talk about his son. Not just to his wife, not just with his family, but with everyone. Because the desire to talk about the people we've lost does not go away. If anything, it grows. But the space to do that safely, to do it without managing everyone else's reactions, like that is the hard part. And even I think of an example for myself now is like, when you love someone, you want to talk about them all the time. I am probably so annoying in the fact that I will find any excuse in a conversation to talk about my boyfriend because I love him so much and I think he's the best person in the world. I want to share that with other people. And I feel so able to do that unjudged without worrying I'll bring down the mood or people will have opinions to say. But with Sam, who I also love so much and also think was the best person in the world, I feel such a different way. Like, I can't tell those stories. So maybe part of this, for me and for you, for anyone listening, is just giving ourselves permission to do it anyways, to say, fuck it, to tell their story, to say their name, to share the memory, even if it is a little uncomfortable, even if the room does shift for a second, even if the person you're talking to is gonna shed a tear, because they deserve to be talked about, and not just as a loss and as a sad sob story, but as a person who lived a full, happy life. And we just as much deserve to be able to talk about them too. Like, that's the key point. We're doing neither them or ourselves a justice by keeping these stories to ourselves. All right, I'm going to get off my soapbox. That was a lot, but I'm finding I feel very passionately about this topic. So if you have ever felt like you had to hold your grief in, or filter your words, or lie about what actually happened, or not share that amazing story you want to tell, just to protect other people from your story, I hope you know that you are allowed to grieve out loud. This is me giving you and me permission to do that, to tell the stories, to laugh about them, and not just bring them up in sadness. Anyways, thank you for listening. Let me know if you can relate, because I feel like if I'm so passionate about this, others must also feel strongly about this. I will also link Michael Cruz's information below so you can check him out. And if you're enjoying the Good Grief podcast, then please, please, please leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to. I promise it truly does help. It truly gives me motivation to keep going on the days where I really don't want to talk about grief and loss. So thank you in advance for your support. Thank you for listening. And I hope you find a time this week to share a fun, lighthearted, happy story of the loved one you lost. All right, take care of yourselves and we'll talk soon.